She vanished after sending one final text. What police found will haunt you. If you think the truth always comes out, think again. Subscribe, because some stories stay buried until someone digs deep enough to find the bones. It was the night of October 24th, 2015 in Little Rock, Arkansas, a quiet suburb swallowed by darkness. Streetlights hummed above empty intersections, and rain had just begun to drizzle over the fading asphalt. 18-year-old Ebby Stepach sat in her gray 2003 Honda Accord, parked alone in a neighborhood she barely knew. Her phone's screen glowed in the shadows. One final message typed out with shaky fingers. "I'll be home soon." It was the last text anyone would ever receive from her. Just hours earlier, she had attended a friend's gathering, a party that spiraled from laughter into something darker. Witnesses later recalled Ebby looking frightened, distant, and saying she had something serious to tell someone. She mentioned a video, one that allegedly showed her being assaulted by people she knew. Within hours, she vanished. The next morning, her mother, Lori Jernigan, woke to an empty room and a gnawing sense that something was wrong. Ebby wasn't the kind of teenager to disappear without a word. Her makeup bag, her charger, her wallet, all gone. Lori dialed her daughter's number again and again, but the only reply was the soft echo of a disconnected line. By noon, panic had set in. Lori reported her missing, urging police to trace her phone, but the response she got felt like a slap in the face. Officers told her that at 18, Ebby had the right to leave if she wanted. The implication was simple. No foul play, just another runaway. But Lori knew her daughter wasn't running. She was in trouble. Then came a clue. Ebby's car was found abandoned in Chalamont Park, a wooded area in West Little Rock. It sat in the same spot for 2 days before anyone even noticed. When police finally arrived, they found the vehicle's doors unlocked, keys still in the ignition, and the battery dead. Inside were traces of her makeup, her purse, and a faint smell of gasoline, but no sign of Ebby. Her phone last pinged from inside the park. The location data stopped abruptly near the wood's edge, as if she had simply vanished into the trees. The park itself became a haunting stage. Investigators combed through every trail, pond, and drainage pipe, but the search was called off within hours due to lack of evidence. The case went cold, almost immediately. Meanwhile, rumors spread across social media like wildfire. Some claimed Ebby had been spotted walking down Cantrell Road. Others whispered that she'd run away to escape something, or someone, but Lori refused to believe it. She returned to the park every night, flashlight in hand, calling out her daughter's name into the endless dark. "I can feel she's here," she told a local reporter. "I just don't know where." For months, the park became her obsession. Lori begged detectives to search the storm drains near where Ebby's car was found, but her pleas were dismissed. No one believed her. Not until 3 years later, when the truth surfaced. Back in 2015, police logs show a disturbing detail that slipped through the cracks. Around the time of Ebby's disappearance, several residents near Chalamont Park reported hearing screams late that night. One caller even mentioned seeing a vehicle with its lights flashing repeatedly, as if signaling for help. No unit was dispatched. As the weeks turned into months, the case turned into silence. Her friends stopped talking. Witnesses contradicted one another, and those who claimed to have the video suddenly went missing from social media. But one piece of evidence never changed. That last text message, "I'll be home soon." To her family, it meant hope. To detectives, it meant nothing. Then in 2018, a new investigator took over the cold case. Detective Tommy Hudson, a seasoned officer known for reopening unsolved files. He re-examined the original reports and found something horrifying. Multiple requests from Ebby's family to search the storm drain system had been ignored. That same system stretched directly beneath the area where her car had been parked. It was the first real lead in 3 years. Hudson ordered a full-scale excavation of the drains in Chalamont Park. Crews worked through thick mud and darkness, lowering cameras into the tunnels. The smell of stagnant water and rot hung heavy in the air. Everyone expected another dead end. But deep inside one of the drains, in a section that had never been searched, the camera stopped. There was something blocking the pipe, something human-shaped. As the rescue team prepared to descend, silence fell over the entire park. Officers stood motionless, flashlights cutting through the damp air. Lori, standing behind the police tape, gripped her chest as her knees trembled. When the team lifted the object to the surface, everyone knew the search was over. The box had finally been opened. The air was thick with dread that morning, May 24, 2018, when investigators unearthed what no one wanted to believe. 3 years after her disappearance, human remains had been found deep inside a storm drain at Chalamont Park. DNA testing would later confirm it. It was Ebby Stepak. But what made the discovery unbearable wasn't just where she was found. It was how long she had been there, beneath the very ground her family had begged police to search from the start. Detective Tommy Hudson stood silently as the forensic team worked. The stench of stagnant water filled the air, and the once overlooked tunnel had become a graveyard of lost chances. Forensic lights illuminated bits of fabric, small jewelry fall, fragments, and bone. Nearby, Ebby's mother, Lori Jernigan, clutched her daughter's photo, the same one she'd carried to every interview, every vigil, every police department that turned her away. She whispered, "You were here all along." When the medical examiner confirmed the remains belonged to Ebby, the entire investigation cracked wide open. Detectives had to confront an uncomfortable truth. The original police response had failed catastrophically. Records showed that the same area had been searched in 2015. Not once, but twice. But the officers at the time never checked the storm drains properly. They didn't have the equipment, and they didn't call in specialists. Ebby's body had been lying mere feet from her abandoned car, hidden just out of sight. For 3 years, she had been right there. The timeline became the key. Investigators reconstructed the final hours before Ebby vanished. On October 23, 2015, she'd attended a gathering where she reportedly told friends she'd been sexually assaulted and that the attack was recorded on a phone. The video, according to her, involved people she trusted. That night, her messages turned frantic, bouncing between anger, fear, and despair. By morning, she was gone. The question everyone was now asking, was it suicide or something far darker? Detectives combed through old phone records, texts, and social media messages that had been ignored the first time around. One stood out, a text to a friend at 2:38 a.m. "They're following me." That message had never been part of the original file. When confronted, the friend said she'd assumed Ebby was being dramatic, maybe high or scared. But investigators weren't so sure. Her phone's last ping placed her car at the park around that exact time, matching her story. Police also re-examined reports from residents who claimed to have heard a woman screaming that night. One man described seeing headlights flicker in the parking lot, as if signaling for help. For reasons no one could explain, those calls were logged but never followed up on. Forensic teams couldn't determine a clear cause of death due to the condition of the remains. But the circumstances, her location, the missing video, the last texts, all pointed toward foul play. As pressure mounted, the Little Rock Police Department faced intense criticism for its handling of the case. A storm of headlines accused them of negligence and ignoring key leads. "We should have found her sooner," one officer admitted publicly. "We had every opportunity." Yet the story didn't end there. When Hudson's team ran the names of the men Ebby had accused in her final hours, they discovered something chilling. 2 of them had left the state within weeks of her disappearance. Another had deleted his entire social media history and changed his number. None were ever charged. To this day, no one has been held accountable for her death. But Lori didn't stop fighting. In the years since, she became a relentless advocate for missing persons, turning her daughter's story into a warning about institutional failure and the human cost of delay. In interviews, her voice trembles but never breaks. If they had just listened, if they had just opened that drain, my daughter wouldn't have been alone for 3 years in the dark. Every October, she returns to Chalamont Park. She lays flowers near the storm drain, the one that swallowed her child and her faith in justice. Locals say she often sits there quietly at sunset, watching the light fade through the trees, the same trees that once hid the truth. The final haunting detail came months after Ebby's remains were found. A technician reviewing the recovered evidence noticed something odd: a rusted ring lodged in the debris beside the tunnel wall. On the inside, barely visible through the grime, were 2 engraved words: "Stay brave." It was the same phrase Lori had used to sign every text she sent her daughter. Some believe Ebby's death will never be fully explained, that too much time and evidence have been lost. But one thing remains clear: her story forced change. After the case reopened, new legislation was introduced in Arkansas to improve how missing person reports are handled, a law now nicknamed Ebby's Law. The park has since been renovated, with new lights and security cameras. But for those who remember, its silence at night still feels heavy. Because sometimes the most haunting sound is the one that never made it out of the drain. If you thought this story was chilling, wait until you hear about the girl who texted her killer without knowing it. Hit subscribe, because you're not ready for what's next.